I've escaped the shell that bound me to cowardice. Now I'm faithful to the wind, but compared to it I'm powerless. The first step was made, and it was a fair accomplishment. The pond was sitting still, so I threw a rock in it. And as my reflection rippled, it all became clear. Seasons always change, so there's no reason for fear.
Welcome to Beards and Biceps. The article I wrote that's attached to this, it can be simplified, and it probably is on a daily basis on a number of memes that you come across. But I think it's really important to actually sit around and think about these types of things on a regular basis, instead of just posting memes, and not only thinking about it, maybe writing about it, talking about it. And I personally go through phases of my life, mini phases and then bigger phases, where I try to contemplate these things, and sometimes I'm not even trying to, I just do. And the concept that I'm going to talk about right now basically just revolves around what I would consider being a decent person, or at least trying to look at people around you, strangers, as more than just strangers at times, and as people who may be connected to you in some way as well, on a human level, on a existential level, some would say on a spiritual level as well, or even on this religious level, whatever it may be. The thing that kind of connects us and makes us human. And it's something I've been thinking about more right now. I think I've gone through little phases like this before in my life, and the whole thing, this whole life, is pretty much an experiment of our own. We are each individually our own experiment as to what we create with our life and what we make our life to be in all the different ways we interact with the world and ourselves and our inner world. And I've been reading a little bit of Seneca recently, and I came across something. I actually believe this might have been in a video. I can't recall off the top of my head, and I couldn't find the actual excerpt. But Seneca said something along the lines of, try to treat humans like your brothers and sisters. And, you know, this is a really hippy-dippy thing to get into. It's very kind of floaty, liberal thing to some people to think about. You know, you think of Bob Marley and people like that, even like the Beatles at their crescendo of their career, and say, come together, you know, love one another, so be it. And it's like this universal thing that's talked about. But I think it's kind of important to talk about, you know, not just the cliche lines of what it means to love one another, or try to make connections with other people, or try to just treat people like your brothers and sisters. It's a really simplistic way of saying it, because we all have our own subjective way of looking at things and interpreting what that even means, whether it means literally your brother, how you would act towards your brother and sisters and family, or if it means just having a certain connectedness on a level that just means maybe they're kind of like family, or they're kind of like a distant brother or sister. And the way I see it is I think to view people as potential equals, not only that, but to try to see them in a way that you would consider them to be maybe immediate family. And this, there's a lot of weird little things that I think go within this, because it's like, well, I may get annoyed with my family, or I may get really ticked off at times that my brother or sister when they're trying to take me off, or whatever it may be. But there will still be that, kind of bond that's there regardless of how I feel towards them at a certain time and space where, we were really annoyed with each other or we weren't getting along. There's still that connectedness and that bond that leads to, what we call love or caring, compassion for that person. Just because we get to a point where we don't get along with someone as well as we might want to, it doesn't mean we don't care, and it doesn't mean we want to see bad things ever happen to them. And quite the contrary, a lot of times we want to see good things happen to them regardless of our own selfish feelings about them at that present time. So again, there's a lot of roads to go down here when talking about this subject. I just think it's really important that we don't simplify it to the point where we don't know what each other are talking about, because it's easy to look at someone and say, you know what I mean, without explaining it. But if you leave anything unsaid that they didn't know what you meant, then you lose something. You lose part of that connectedness. You lose part of that conversation that can be there. One of the things that I try to stress with people is being patient and listening. And the reason for that is that you may hear things. We constantly are, as humans, we're just, sometimes waiting to say the next thing because we already kind of know what someone's saying, or we're like, okay, get on with it. But if we really listen, if we really try to listen, instead of just talking, instead of getting ourselves out there, that's where you find what I call the gold nuggets of life. And sometimes you can start that with just saying hi to someone. Just a simple hello in life can go a very long way. And the people that know what I mean know it well. Smiling is a stupid, simple thing that I find to be very interesting in life. And when I treat everyone as if they're my potential brother or sister, things are nicer for me personally. And that doesn't mean I have to love everyone. Someone along the lines might kill an animal I like, and I might be like, I don't have to enjoy that person. And it might even be hard for me to forgive the type of person that they are. But I think it's worth the initial attempt in meeting people, whether that's the first time you meet someone or the third or fourth or 100th time you meet someone. As long as they haven't pushed those buttons to make you make that decision that you really just don't enjoy this person, you just don't want to be around them because they're not trustworthy and they don't align with your values. So by really putting your effort in just to be okay with people and let them know you're acknowledging their existence, I think is a big step in being human. There's this movie called Waking Life. I like it a lot. And there's this part where this girl stops the main character because they just kind of pass each other on some stairs in a subway, and it's all in a dream. And she turns around and says, hey, I just wanted to introduce myself. I wanted to get to know you. I don't like how people go about life like ants, and we just kind of put our antennas up and we feel our way around the world without actually connecting with each other on an individual level. And I think that's part of what Seneca might have been getting at, is the things we know matter in life And most of us know that relationships are the things that matter in life. And it's really easy in today's modern technological, digital world to feign connectedness, to have this connectedness that's there, and I do it myself. And this is why, part of why I'm talking about it is because I think it's important for all of us to acknowledge and understand the reality of what we might be doing and the world we might be living in, as opposed to a potential delusion that we're connecting with people far more than we actually are. So I think that's part of what he was getting at. And what that leads to, for me in life, and I think this will be fairly universal, is it leads to forgiveness, and it leads to understanding, it leads to compassion, and it leads to, for me, it leads to me being more courteous. I don't need people to smile back. I don't even need someone to say hi back. For a split second, I might think you're a dick, but it will pass very quickly, and I'll usually say, who knows what the hell's going on in their life. So I'm not deserved anything by my attempt to connect with people throughout the world. And I think this is important for myself and others to remember, that if you're going to get mad about the way someone reacts, as long as it's not directly, they're not trying to stab you, or just say like the things that are going to really just affect your life, which most of the time is just up to you anyways, that it's really easy to let those things go, and you made the attempt that you wanted to make, and not to put anything back on anyone else in your attempts to connect with the world and understand the bond you may have with humans, because who knows, maybe they're where you were 10 years ago, maybe they're far advanced from you, and they're in a place that they don't feel they need to try. That's all fine too. I enjoy my life more when I look at it this way. For example, it's easier for me to laugh at myself. So for example, I've been talking about this a lot with say my clients, my friends, and so forth. When I'm driving, that's a really good example, is we have road rage, right? When I was driving the other day, someone almost hit me. They came right out and almost hit me. And I keep on going back to this whole brotherhood family thing, being like, where should I be here? Should I be forgiving this person immediately? And almost immediately I was like, I will kill you. You almost killed me, and I will kill you for that. And I was kind of laughing about it later, because I felt that way. If someone's going to take my life, I sure as hell would rather take their life first, out of my own personal selfishness. And there's just, these are things we say in our head when we're faced with impending doom, potentially. But this mindset, it's not going to make me perfect or anyone else. And some of the people might be immediately reacting differently than me, or more forgiving, even in the face of death. And I praise those people for being so controlled that they're unfazed by the potential death that lies right in front of them via vehicular homicide or accident, whatever it may be. But to acknowledge the fact that you felt this way toward that person, and then to acknowledge the fact that you've already forgiven them, I think that's a big deal. And that's what I've been trying to do myself. I try to imagine what kind of day they're having, or what their life has been like leading up to now. And no matter the circumstances, I really can't be mad at people. Alright, there's just no way for me to stay mad at them when I take all things into consideration. And I think that's what this is about. I think that's, not just looking at someone, understanding someone, but realizing that we're essentially the same as far as our race goes. And as we acknowledge that, and the more we acknowledge that, the quicker we're going to get to where we're going. Especially the good places. There has to be effort there in order for us to have meaning in each other and meaning within ourselves. And without that, we lose a lot. We spend a lot of time in angst, with anger, thinking about things that don't matter, and which is going to take away from time, thinking about the things that probably matter more. I'm not defining this as an absolute way of living, just another potential way to look at things. So, that's that.
And as my reflection rippled, it all became clear. Seasons always change, so there's no reason for fear. We made an autobiography of our pivotal years. It's all I got, and I'm giving it to you because I care. See, a lot of the time, humans as artists exist in a self-projected state of falsehood. We're either too close to our image to be objective in our perception, or too far away to be subjective in any matter. This only widens the void that social conformity introduced to our souls at birth. And so I write. But I don't write without the intention of objectivity or attention on the image, but only as an omnidirectional bridge between the several floating tunnel-structured realities present in comparable space and time. See, I don't write for the future, I write about the future, for the present. I write with my past, about the future, for the present. On this I stand, the oasis of